And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller lovers. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome tonight New York Times best-selling author Alisa Lynn Valdés, here to give us the inside scoop on her red-hot book, Hollow Beasts, out tomorrow. Alisa, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this book.
Thank you for that very enthusiastic introduction. I appreciate it. Gosh, Hollow Beasts is my first thriller suspense novel, so I'm very excited. It's also book one in a series. I have just turned book 2 in. I'm hoping there will be a book 3. I don't know for sure yet. That depends on you guys, I think. So Hollow Beasts is the series is centered around a woman game warden named Jodi Luna, who works in northern New Mexico. And in this particular book, she's a rookie. She's the oldest rookie game warden that the state ever hired at 45. She's decided she's having kind of a midlife crisis and decides to leave her job as a poetry professor in Massachusetts to go to New Mexico, where she was raised, and be a game warden, take over for her uncle who's retiring. And so basically in book 1, it's her first time ticketing a poacher on her own, and that's how it opens. And he also happens to be a skinhead and a neo-Nazi, and he doesn't like her very much, and he really doesn't like that her uncle who's training her speaks to her in Spanish because they're bilingual. So he freaks out, and she kind of puts him in his place because he's like, speak English, one of those speak English. And she's like, actually, and he says, why don't you Mexicans simulate? Like, that's the first thing he says. And she's like, the word you're looking for is assimilate. And right. Also, really, you need to learn to speak English yourself before you lecture anybody. And she's like, and also the U.S. doesn't have an official language, which we don't. And the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo of 1848 guarantees people in New Mexico the right to speak Spanish. And so that's how it starts. And that her kind of cutting him down to size, she doesn't know he's a neo-Nazi yet. She can kind of figure because of his shaved head and his Confederate flag in the back of his truck. But that starts the kind of cat and mouse chase that is the entire book, where he becomes obsessed with her and kidnaps her daughter. So that is all I'm going to say. But yeah, it was so fun to write. I love the suspense genre. I've been a huge suspense fan my entire life. And this is sort of my midlife career change. I was like, you know what? I think when you reach like midlife, you're kind of like, I really need to live for me now. I don't want to do the stuff that I was supposed to do to make other people happy, which isn't to say the books I wrote in my 20s were not good books. I put my heart and soul into them. But I think at my foundational root, I've always been a suspense author and a New Mexican. I was born and raised here. So this is kind of like, it's like I have a dozen books out, but this one's really special because it feels really particularly me.
Yay! Well, I am resonating with all of this as a woman in her own midlife pivot, also pivoting into mysteries from another genre. So I am picking up what you're putting down and loving all of it. And I can't wait to chat with you about all of it. So I just want to welcome everybody. So we are broadcasting live to 6 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So we want to welcome everyone, no matter where you're watching from. You're in the right place. This is the right time. It is Mystery Monday, and because Mondays can be murder, we're going to make them a little less painful for you. So welcome, mystery and thriller lovers, and en español, welcome los que adoran los libros de misterio. So welcome to all of our Spanish-speaking friends and mystery lovers as well. So if you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new, welcome, friends. Here's the drill. So every Monday for hashtag Mystery Monday, I give you my handpicked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. So ask New York Times bestselling author Alisa Lynn Valdés anything you want. We are talking about Time Magazine top 25 most influential Hispanics in America, a Latina magazine Woman of the Year. She is, of course, the New York Times bestselling author of the Dirty Girls Social Club, and she is coming over to our world, the mystery and thriller world, and we know we like it hot over here. So get the questions going in the comments, and I will ask her. So I also took questions in advance from anyone who couldn't watch with us live, because a lot of people are going to tune in later. Oops, we lost Alisa. She will be right back. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and get them going in the chat. Now, we have a lot of amazing praise to talk about from this book. Yay, here she's back.
I tried to click the chat box to see the questions and it logged me off. So I'm going to I'll just let you tell me.
That's okay. I'm going to read them off to you. Yeah, that's perfect. So our first question is from Rebecca Gonzalez, and she would like to know, Alisa, do you have any mysteries in your own life?
Oh my God. Like, what is that? Okay. So, wow. So things, I would assume things that I don't know the answer to that I'd like to know the answer to.
Or maybe like a mystery in your life that inspired the story, or I think you could interpret that question any way you like.
Oh my God. I mean, in a way, yes. So I was born and raised in New Mexico, and as was my mother and my son. And my son is the 11th generation on my mom's side to be born here. So we go back, to the 16th century here. And our family tree is really very well researched on that side of the family. So I know everything about them. That's the family I grew up with. But the big mystery in my life has been my dad's side of the family. I know my dad. He's an immigrant from the nation of Cuba. I have to say the nation of Cuba because there's a town called Cuba, New Mexico.
I did not know that.
I know. Someone I went to high school with recently told me, they're like, oh, your dad's from the country. Because as a kid, I would always say, it's so sad that I'll never know my Cuban relatives. We can't go to Cuba. And he was like, those people are super lazy because it's only like an hour and a half away. So that's the big mystery of my life. Like, my dad was an orphan when he came to the U.S. at the age of 15. And he was sent to a foster home in Albuquerque, and he's still in Albuquerque. And his mom died when he was 9.
Wow.
Yeah, and his biological father was like the son of the rich family that employed my grandmother as a maid when she was a teenager in Santa Clara. And there were 2 sons, and they kind of had a bet to see who could sleep with the maid first, kind of thing. And it was probably not by choice on her part that my father conceived, right? And then when the family found out about that, they, fired her and told the town that she was, whatever they say about women in the 40s in Cuba when you're pregnant and unwed. So she moved by herself, to Havana and got leukemia and died when he was 9. And he had a stepdad by then who was this very brutal loan shark kind of guy. And that guy just at the first opportunity, he saw there was this thing called Operation Pedro Pan, where they sent 14,000 Cuban kids unaccompanied to the U.S. when the Cuban Revolution happened. And he put my dad on one of those planes. He's like, I'm done with this kid. This is not my kid. So, God. Yeah. So that's the big mystery is I have this huge extended family in the nation of Cuba who wanted to know my dad and never had the chance because the loan shark, who was super brutal, wouldn't let them near, it was just so, and we can't travel there. It's very hard to travel there. They can't travel here, even though it's only 96 miles from the U.S. border. I've been 4 times to Cuba in my lifetime. And I've met them, some of the family, one time I had dinner with them.
Wow.
But it's everybody I know kind of knows both sides of their family. Your mom's family, your dad's family somewhat. And I don't. And it's been really weird to my dad's very, very Cuban. So I definitely got that with the man, I speak with my hands and all of that kind of stuff.
Very relatable. Very relatable.
Yes. And when I was in Cuba, I had this weird, talk about mysterious. almost like a genetic memory of the town where my dad grew up. I'm like, I have been here before. I have
Wow.
been here before. And I physically resemble my grandma who died, when my dad was a little kid.
Oh,
There's just like this part of me that's kind of superstitious. I've always felt like she's around. And when
oh,
I met her mom, who was like more than 100, like when I was 11, and she
wow.
thought I was my grandma because we looked so much alike. She was like, Eugenia, I always see
Wow.
you back, And I wasn't going to be like correcting her, but it was a little weird. So yeah, I would say the Cuban side of my family is the big mystery.
Wow.
I would love to know more about them,
Yeah. Oh
And
my gosh.
yeah.
That's so amazing. Alisa, thank you so much for sharing this amazing story.
Well, thank you
Um,
for listening to it.
no, I love family mysteries and family secrets. Hi, doggy.
I know I have to plug in my phone, so I'm like, and, hold on a second, guys.
Yay.
Speaking of my dad,
Oh, wait, we lost you. I can't hear you. Oh, wait, I think maybe you went into your car's system. Oh, wait, I can't hear you. Yeah. Maybe you have to adjust the volume. Okay. Alisa will be right back with us. Maybe put it on speaker. Yeah, let's see how that works. Meanwhile, you guys, I have some incredible, incredible praise to share. I'm so excited to share this because Alisa has so much amazing praise that are coming in about her books, and I have her book Hollow Beasts, and there's so much to share about this. So I can't wait to get into some of that and start to hear about her writing process, her creative process. A lot to chat about as soon as we reconnect here. And we'll just give her a moment. So Kirkus raves that the book is, quote, packed to bursting with big questions for readers, which is I love that because there is a lot here besides the action-packed narrative. So it is tough to get a good review from Kirkus. So first we have to just congratulate Alisa on that amazing bit of praise. And I'm going to hold this up so you can see the gorgeous cover as well. That wolf and that lonely woman walking through. And here she comes back again. Yay, she's back. Okay, just streaming in here. Looks like it's a little delayed. And that is not the only bit of praise coming in about this book. I'm going to get through some of this other as well. And Alisa, can you hear me? Publishers Weekly raving that this is, quote, a strong action-packed thriller and a series launch from bestseller Valdés. Readers will look forward to seeing a lot more of this tough, smart heroine. And we are talking about her protagonist, Jodi Luna, who moves from Boston, where she has worked as a poetry professor, to New Mexico, where she becomes a game warden. Welcome back, Alisa.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
You can
yes.
hear me.
Yes.
I can't hear you.
Oh no. Okay.
I know. I don't know why. Hold on.
So there, yes.
I don't know why I cannot hear you.
Incredible review from Publishers Weekly.
Okay, so I'm at 17% on my phone. I'm going to disconnect it because then I can hear you, but I don't know how long it's going to last.
Okay.
And I'm in a different city from where I live. I'm so sorry, you guys.
No,
this is such a
that's
pain.
okay. Life happens.
Unless I can call the chat up and we can do it that way.
No, go ahead and unplug it.
you.
Unplug it. Yeah,
So
go ahead and
good.
unplug it. Okay.
Let me see
So
if I can fiddle with this a little bit.
Meanwhile, you guys, the book is coming out tomorrow. And I am going to share the link to pre-order it right here as well. So as soon as Alisa figures out her audio situation here, we can hear all about the inside scoop on that. Okay. Alisa, can we hear? I don't know. Can't hear you. Can't hear you yet. That's okay. She's going to figure it out. Oh, okay. We lost her again. That's okay. Okay, yes. So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about this book. So it opens up with a kidnapped girl who is 16 years old, and she is in a prison. And okay, let's see if Alyssa's back. Are you back?
I'm back and I can hear you.
Yay! Okay, perfect.
I'm so sorry.
No worries at all. So I just was saying to the audience that you actually, the book opens with a kidnapped girl who is in a prison, a 16-year-old girl who's kidnapped. She's in a prison in the wild, and she is reciting a letter over and over and over to her parents, who she is apologizing for not having done, she's blaming herself for being kidnapped, and she's with two co-prisoners. Now, talking to you, you seem like the sunny, sweet, lovely person, but the book is dark. Let's talk about what inspired that. Did you read about, missing girls? What made you want to tell the story? Why now?
Oh, okay. Well, the world is dark right now. Yeah, and my own personal happiness is a choice, and it's not always the easy choice. We are overrun with problems of hatred and violence towards people because they are perceived to be different.
Yes.
And I've never seen it quite this bad. I've been alive, for 54 years. So, with this particular, the villains in this book are white supremacist terrorists in an organization. And according to the FBI, CIA, and Homeland Security in the U.S., the number one terrorist threat we face is that kind of person, those kinds of groups. And so I'm a former journalist, and so rooting my stories in reality is important to me. So that's one. And knowing the facts about that, and then not really seeing that reflected in pop culture, whenever, at least in what, is being made in the US, the face we give to a so-called terrorist does not tend to look like what the actual number one terrorist threat looks like. So I wanted to present that. I had also I'd read a story about a girl in the US, a 14-year-old girl walking home from school, who was targeted by a white supremacist who thought the girl, quote unquote, looked Mexican, and ran her over a whole bunch of times. And
my God.
I know. And her name in real life is Natalia. And I named one of the girls in the opening who's been kidnapped because she, quote unquote, looks Mexican. These guys are kidnapping women and girls to hunt them because they look Mexican to them. But of course, some of them are Native American. Some of them are Central American. They are not making a distinction. It's just they don't like brown people, right? And they're hunting these girls. So yeah, it was based on reality, unfortunately. My hat is like, I'm doing the wrong way. There we go.
Yeah, I like you get a little swag. I like it. A little swagger with your hat. I like it. It.
I don't know what I'm doing because I'm in like reverse there. Okay. Sort of normal. Not really normal at all. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. Now, Alisa, was it hard for you to switch into the thriller genre? Was this something you'd wanted to do for a long time? Let's talk about that.
It's something I've wanted to do for a long time. And I don't think it was hard. It's something I wanted to do 20 years ago when I first started out.
Wow.
And Dean Koontz has been my favorite writer since I was in college. Like by far, he and Charles Dickens, and I think they're very much alike, honestly. What's changed is that the industry has opened up to let someone like me write this genre, which was not the case. There might have been a few, but it was more like back then it was very much, this is a man's genre. Mystery, not so much, but suspense, thrillers. And even when we were submitting this book, there was still this kind of, oh, it's so violent. And I'm like, if a dude had written this, you wouldn't be like, oh, it's so violent. You'd be like, hey, let's buy this book. So there's still a little bit of a double standard, I think, but it wasn't it wasn't hard. I don't think it was a hard switch. It was a fun switch, I think.
Ooh,
I'm not saying I'm good at it yet, but I love doing it. It's very plot driven compared to what I wrote before. So
that's so interesting. That you were told that the book was too violent, or just that the violence was noted, and that wouldn't be the case if you were a male writer. That is fascinating to hear, that even now, when we're seeing the genre really, start to crack open and open up to be more accessible to all writers and more inclusive, that you're still running up against these expectations of how women should write.
Yeah, and I also had to wonder, no one said this specifically, but the type of person who was experiencing violence, and the way, the point of view from which I was presenting this kind of violence, right? So we have violence against people of color in literature all the time, but it's told from the other side, like someone is scared of those people, so we're going to hurt them. That's never a problem. But I was presenting it from a Latina point of view, where it's like, you actually get to feel this pain. This is not a relief for you. You don't get to be scared of this girl. You get to feel what she's feeling. That's terrifying. They don't like that. The editors who turned the book down. I think that then is like, oh God, this is so violent. We want to sanitize it when we hurt you. I think it was a bit of that. But I found a great home for it. Thomas and Mercer, Liz Pearsons have been like just so incredible and supportive, and I couldn't have asked for a better home. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm complaining. I'm not. I'm just saying there were a handful of publishers or editors who were like, oh heavens no. And also people were very concerned that I was going to upset white supremacists.
Yeah, because we should be caring about those feelings.
We should be worried about that.
Right. Gotta think about those feelings.
Feeling. I think they have one. It's hate.
Oh my gosh.
What's your feeling? So sorry.
The half a feeling. Oh my gosh. That is so interesting. Wow. Yeah, because I've interviewed, I started the series 3 years and I think 450 interviews ago. I've interviewed Dean Koontz. He's amazing. And I've interviewed a lot of writers, a lot of books across, and they run from really gory to no bloodshed at all. And it's fascinating because I wonder now if the male writers ever got any feedback about their books being too violent. And no one's ever told me if they did. So that is very interesting to consider.
And I don't think I wrote the violence. I didn't write a gratuitously violent book. I mean, horrible things are happening in it. The other part of it is I'm writing about a game warden. And,
right.
And people have a hard time with violence against animals, like a harder time with bad things happening to animals than happening to people.
That's true.
Including myself.
Me too.
It is a challenge to write about someone whose job is to protect animals from being poached. So that is violent. The opening chapter is, there's a poacher and it's a deer head. We don't know at first that it's a deer head.
Yeah.
It's like there's the head in this back of this truck. So yeah, that is violent. But you know what? Here in the state of New Mexico, they give out 40,000 deer licenses a year, and 46,000 deer are poached every year on top of that. And this
really?
Really, and we depend on the ecosystem. And I feel like we're not paying enough attention to the crimes that are being committed against our fellow sentient beings. So, how do I talk about, poaching a deer without people getting really upset? It's tough. It's a tough territory to go into also because, there's a Joe Pickett series, which is also about a game warden. And that's CJ Box's very popular series. But he's a white guy writing about, that point of view, kind of like the manifest destiny legacy of hunting, which is like, we're going to pose with our kills and this is very patriotic and we are very American and we are libertarian. And that is not my audience. So that audience, I would hope, will cross over and read what I'm writing. I would hope they would like what I'm writing, but I'm on a tightrope in a way. I'm writing about outdoorsmanship and hunting and all of this stuff that has so been the territory in the American imagination, if not in reality, of white men, right? And I'm doing this from the point of view of a woman of color now. And in a place in the Southwest that has long, we have a long tradition, Native American, or Spanish, as they say here, or Mexican American, of a different approach to hunting that isn't glorifying it so much as it is having gratitude, and humility towards it, realizing this is something you have to do, but you're not going to pose with your kill. There's something real Abu Ghrabi about that to me. So this is it's an interesting experiment to see if I can, find an audience in my existing readership or in the outdoorsman, world that hasn't felt themselves represented in how that's been portrayed thus far.
Exactly. And I think, I always feel like when someone is called to tell a story, they will notice that they find themselves uniquely equipped with the tools, experience, voice, and eyes to tell that story. And that feels like you are, you have been called to tell that story, and you have that unique ability to be the one to tell that, to be the teller of that story.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it is very personal. I grew up in rural New Mexico. Like, this is my world. And that was another thing. I didn't really feel like I loved Longmire. I love that show. I love the books. I think Craig Johnson's hilarious. But every time I watch that, Longmire was shot in New Mexico, and it's a stand-in for Wyoming, and people don't know that New Mexico is a state, or if they do, they think it looks like Arizona and it's flat and hot and dry. Not that all of Arizona is flat and hot and dry. That's a stereotype too. But I was always kind of like, I want to see a woman in that role. This is my Latina Longmire, like an older or middle-aged woman who's going to grow old with the series, who's stoic, who's capable, who's strong, who's out there in the wilderness on her own, who's taking on really bad dudes, Game warden as a job is 7 times more dangerous than a city cop.
Wow, I didn't know that.
They are 7 times more likely to get attacked on the job because they don't have a partner. They're by themselves. Their territory can be 5,000 square miles of wilderness where there's no radio service, there's no cell service, and they're up against poachers. So think about the psychology of a poacher. This is an armed person who's killing something against the law because they can get away with it. So that's to put a woman in that job, to me, and a woman of color in that job, just felt like exciting territory to write about, but also just super I don't know, symbolic in a way of what I feel generally for myself, my son, my family in the United States right now. It is not an exaggeration to say we are at risk of going full on fascism. It's already happening in Florida, in Idaho. Like, there are a lot of places where this is already happening. So I just felt like she's the hero that I needed right now. Game wardens are the only cops whose entire job is to protect wildlife from people. And, at a time when
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So people get them confused with like park rangers. These game wardens are in charge of enforcing conservation laws with regards to wildlife. We need a lot more of those. In my opinion, they're the only cops we need more of right now. So I just felt like Jodi Luna, for me, at this point in time, at this point in my own life, she's the hero that I needed and could not find. And so I always try to look at obstacles or emptiness as opportunity.
Ooh, emptiness is opportunity. I love that. I love that.
Can't find the thing you need, make it. It's not just cliche, necessity, the mother of invention and all that. So I invented her. She's my alter ego. If I were younger, I would be a game warden.
Would you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I live in rural New Mexico now, and I spend all my time outdoors. I don't do a lot of hunting. I do fish. And I volunteer, with wildlife organizations helping to rehabilitate, habitat and things like that.
That's wonderful, Jodi. I mean, Jodi Luna is the hero. Jodi, you're Jodi. Jodi Luna is the hero that we needed, that we all needed right now. Alisa, thank you. That's so beautifully said. I'm, remembering what you just said. I look at emptiness as opportunity. Jodi Luna is the hero that I needed right now, and Jodi Luna is the hero that we all needed right now. And you're the writer that we needed to tell that story. So that is so beautifully done. We're so honored to have you here again, everybody. New York Times bestselling author, Time Magazine, 25 most influential Hispanics in America, Latina Magazine, Woman of the Year, Entertainment Weekly breakout literary star. We are so honored to have you here. And the book is not even out. Alisa is coming here to give us the inside scoop, which we are so appreciative. So here is the link, no matter where you're watching from, pre-order tonight. And the good folks at Murder by the Book, our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore, will ship it out to you tomorrow morning. So everybody, I'm going to pop this up for you to click and order tonight. Here is that link, everybody. Here it is. So thank you for Alisa. Thank you so much for coming on. Muchas gracias for coming on and talking with us. Everybody, thank you for spending your Mystery Monday with us. Grab your copy of Hollow Beasts. Here it is. This beautiful lone wolf with a woman walking there by herself. I love this in her cowgirl hat, walking away into the distance, into the wolf's mouth. Click, order, and then hop over to Mystery and Thriller Mavens, where all the good tea is spilled, and tell us what you think of Jodi, what you think of Hollow Beast, what you think of this book. Alisa, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, for being with us here tonight. Thank you guys for spending Mystery Monday with us, and happy pub day tomorrow.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you guys so much. Sorry for the technical problems, and I appreciate your patience.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for coming on. And we can't wait to chat with you again.
Great.
Okay, have a great night, everybody. I will see you next week for Mystery Monday. Have a good week until then.
Ciao.